Alright, I'm back inside the boat because I need to take care of some things in here before I can paint the top sides. So, long story. I need to be able to take this tarp enclosure off the boat in order to paint the top sides. It's in the way. And I can't take that down until I've made the boat watertight. And that means I need to work on the Deadlights, and then up in here the two front port lights on each side. So I have already previously, when I painted the outside, I patched the holes where the original bolts were. There's a aluminum frame on the inside and outside that's sandwiched together, and then there's a piece of glass that fits in there. I'm not replacing that. It is not in great shape. It's prone to leakage. So I filled all these in. The outside is painted, and I even painted the inside, the edge here. I cleaned this up. It was all rough and jagged and everything. So now I need to, this is drips from when I painted the outside of the boat. So I'm going to sand and clean this up. And depending how ambitious I am, I may paint the entire inside, underside of the ceiling here. Everything from the woodwork up. I bought, at one point I bought Interlux. It's the one-part paint. I think it's Perfection, but that may be the two-part paint. Bright Sides. I think it's Bright Sides is the one-part paint. I don't remember what I used it for, but I bought a couple quarts of it, and rather than let it go to waste, I'll use it. I didn't want to use one part on the outside. I wanted to use a two-part epoxy on the outside. So I think I'll just use it on the inside. I know you're not allowed. You're not going to be able to. I'm not going to be able to paint over it again with a two-part if I want to, but I'm not going to worry about it on the inside. I already have it, so I think that's what I'm going to do. So I got to get sanding and cleaning up. So I've got to paint the inside of the cabin in order to mount the external dead plates or deadlights. This needs some fairing work around it. So what I did, I went out and I bought at the local some Bondo. All through my teenage and college years, I used it on vehicles. And so this is the first test run of it around this window here. It should be, yeah, almost, just a little too sticky. Another 20 minutes or so, I can sand it down, see how it does. Alright, so that worked pretty well, I think. Bondo, you can tell if I zoom in over here, all the imperfections from filling the holes and grinding, and move over here. I can just feel it's smooth. Got 60 grit on the random orbital, so that's why you can still see some of these swirl marks. So I'll get some finer grit and get rid of those, but that works pretty good. Alright, got the hard part done as far as sanding around these windows. It's going to look good once it's painted. Alright, we got one coat of Bright Sides on the inside. The brush and tip, or the roll and tip, works pretty good. It's pretty obvious. When you roll it, there's all kinds of little bubbles and stuff, and just a quick little tip with the brush gets rid of all those, leaves some brush marks a little bit, and then they kind of flatten out, fade away, so it's pretty smooth. I mean, all the whatever imperfections I'm looking at on here are just what was there before. So I'm definitely gonna need one more coat. I can still see through a little bit here, but I think one coat should do it. I have to sand with the 220 to 320 grit between coats, so now I gotta get to sanding here. Alright, getting ready for the second coat. Condition's not too bad. It's a little warm. Humidity looks good. Brand new can opened up. Lots of ventilation. That's blowing in. All my windows still open, so looking good. Here we go. Alright, just a little bit left on there. I feel much better about this. there's 3 coats on these 2 main walls, the window walls where the where I had the Bondo around it that was showing through. Other than that, everything is really pretty good. So now we can do the windows. Alright, I'm in the basement and I'm going to start the project for the Deadlights. I have to cut out new lights. Now what is originally on the boat is just a piece of plexiglass, and then there's 2 of these aluminum frames, one on the outside and matching on the inside, through bolted. They have a tendency of leaking a lot. They're kind of, some of them are beat up a little worse than this one. So what I'm going to do, and I've seen this online, there are probably better videos than mine out there, but I'm going to make the Deadlights out of these. I got this material here. It's a cast, I think it's cast acrylic. I used it for the top of my hatch, the front hatch. I cut out the translucent bit of the front hatch and replaced it with this. I still have some of that actually up here. Now this, I don't know if you can see that, this was what was on the hatch in the front, and I cut out that and I replaced it with a piece of this. This is scrap I used to test my routing abilities, but I have more in there for this guy, and the measurements I took said make the cutout piece, you know, this shape, but add 3/4 of an inch all the way around. So I've screwed this into this piece. This is 3/4 here, this is 3/4 here, so I gotta measure 3/4 all the way around, cut that out, and then I bought this trimming bit for a router. So I'm hoping what I'll be able to do is, once I have this piece out and fit the size and I like it, I'll put the acrylic on top of that and use this cutout bit, the trimming bit, to follow the template and cut the piece out. I'm going to try to scroll around with this. Got this guy set 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, I gotta give myself a 1/16 of an inch fluff there, so I'm gonna leave that as that is right there. Give it a shot. Okay, here's the jigsaw. Obviously took this off before I did that, but looks pretty good. So what we'll do, I'll take this outside, up onto the boat, see if I like that size. Okay, sorry for the fan noise, but it's very hot out. I think I did some measuring and it looks pretty good. I gotta, you know, clean up the edges of this. It's not quite even all the way around, but what it is ending up being is I had originally wanted 1.5 inches all the way around on the outside, and what I ended up with is just slightly above that, maybe a 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch bigger. I think bigger is better. It's more ceiling space. And the template is flat along this edge and flat along that edge. So I started like that. Obviously switched because I have a roller bit on my router. So this roller guide runs along this and cuts that out. So that's got to be on the bottom. This is just shows you how I went about doing it and what I how it's done. This is how I waterproofed the boat while I waited for the windows to be ready, but now we're gonna install them, or dry fit them at least, so you can take all this off. Alright, so we've got this all cut to size. I used my template to cut where the holes are. Then I held this up and I got it in position. You know, I found level, and I marked where each hole was going to be, drilled out all those holes. All these holes are a little oversized. I'm using a number 10. I think it's 1.25 inches. So you can see there's some, there we go. A little bit of play, and that's to allow for expansion and contraction of the acrylic, which moves at a different rate than the fiberglass does. And then these are a little oversized anyway, because just to make everything line up easier. So what I've done, I've got the tape pulled off over here, and I've got one dry fit. And now what I need to do is put some tape along the inside, and then go on the outside and put some tape along the outside of the window, and then the outside of the fiberglass, so that when we apply, I'm using Dow 795 black for the sealant, and then when that oozes out, I can just make a nice bead with it. Got them all dry fit. Now for tape. I don't know if you can see it's backlit here, but I got the taped here, taped outside. Alright, we managed to get one of these in. I managed to get one of these in by myself. How I did that, got the tape all around the edges. This is what it looks like on the inside, and what it looks like on the outside. So I got the screws, the bolts going through, and then I have this small nut that's acting as a spacer on every one of these. And then I'm using Dow 795 black silicone. And I'm filling up this whole area, and then I put it in. Now these are a little loose right now, just so the holes line up, because everything's not exactly perfect. But once I put that in on the outside and press on it, and I tighten the screw, it pulls that nut in and tightens this. And then I come on the inside and I put on my washer and the locking nut, and I can crank them all down from the inside. And the spacers, I'm doing these for spacers so that I don't squeeze out all of the silicone, and so that the silicone is the proper seal. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't think it's going to leak. I mean, this is pretty thick. Nice thick layer that's squeezed in there. There was squeeze out. I had to pull it all off. Luckily, this stuff wipes right off of the freshly painted walls, and off of the acrylic with a little bit of work. So let's give this a shot. Alright, this is how much I put on. Last time I didn't put enough on. I kind of had to go around the outside once installed and squeeze it in. This time I shouldn't have to do that. So we'll see if this is too much. Okay, so it's up. It's just set in place now. Now this is what I was talking about. This is loose. If you give it a little, there, it's nice and tight. So when I go inside, I'll be able to tighten it from the inside. And I have my spacer. Okay, so when I was able to use both hands and really put some pressure in on this, they all tighten up nice. And you can see the squeeze out's good. So this is much better than the first time I tried. Didn't have the good squeeze out. So let's go inside and secure it. So this is what I'm talking about. We got the washer I put on. a nylon nut. And then take my and it's good and snug, not over tightened. Got a lot of squeeze out, but there's plenty in between there. So I put the rest of these on, take the tape off, and we're in. I think there's a couple of spots I could make a little prettier, but I'm not going to worry about it. She's in, they're solid, and no dirty.